The Club Championship Show on Off the Ball in partnership with AIB, proud sponsor of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. Hashtag the toughest.
You are very welcome along to the Club Championship Show here on Off the Ball. It is brought to you by AIB. It is a new season of the programme. We're getting to that point where the provincial championships are getting tasty. We had the last of the county finals last weekend. Delighted to say Aisling O'Reilly is here in studio with me. How are you, Ash?
Not too bad, Will. How's things?
Good. Killian Whelan's going to be with us a little bit later on. He's going to, I won't quite call it power ranking because I don't want to steal Owen Sheehan's thunder on this one, but he's going to rank the contenders in the Camogie Championship as we get down for the best part of the provincial finals over the next couple of weekends there. I mean, we're coming off the back of an interesting weekend. We'll chat about Kilcoo in a little bit. You were watching them against Derry. Very impressive. I think it was 1-8 to a point they went ahead in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Kilcoo are out for maybe a bit of a revenge over probably last year and losing that Ulster title. They want to get back there. They want to regain that. But it was an impressive performance, and it was tough for them as well because Brewster Park, it was very wet. It's quite a heavy pitch, as we all know anyway, but there's been a lot of rain in Ulster over the last week or so. So it was tough conditions for both teams, but they were very, very impressive. They were still able to play that running game that we know they all can do. A lot of pace within that team, and they definitely kicked into another gear, I would say, than I have seen them. Maybe better than last year, I would say. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in the Ulster Championship. But that Ulster Championship, you just look at the teams, it's absolutely stacked. And Glen are going to want to get back there. You've Crossmaglen coming. They've the experience of being in the All-Ireland campaign as well. Scottstown now as well, Jack McCarran. There's so many interesting facets to it all. But it's going to be very, very difficult to even get through there. But yeah, very, very much looking forward to seeing what they can do. And just the Ulster Championship in general, I love following it, both in the inter-county scene and the club scene. It's very, very competitive. It's great to watch. And yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting this year.
We'll hear from Bob O'Kane a little bit later on. I know you were asking Carl Lacey as well about the idea of coaching a current inter-county manager. I think someone came back on tweet and said that Vinnie Corey is still playing with his club.
Yeah.
But to see Conor Lafferty still breaking through for runs late in the game when they were 8 or 9 points up, he's still looking pretty good as a player, isn't he?
Oh, he is, definitely. He leads, that's for sure. Exactly what he'd want from his players, whether it's at club level or county level, doing those hard runs back, getting forward, committing to your run. There was a few times there was clips going around afterwards as well of like, you know, the pass mightn't have been on, but it was committing to your run, because even if you don't get that pass, you might distract a player, you might pull a player out and create that space. And evidently there was times when they scored off the back of his runs. So yeah, it's something else to see that, you know, an inter-county manager doing what he's doing at a young age. But he is in his late 30s, so to be able to be still playing at that level, and when you see the fitness and the physique that all those players are in now at club level, we might touch on this at some point as well, the professionalism that goes into club, it's something else. And to be able to do it at that level and to keep going, we're probably going to talk about other players that are doing it later into their older years as well. It is something else, and he's definitely still doing it for Kilcoo. Definitely a big figure there, and he came off the bench the last day, but he started, I think, the county final. So I'd say we're going to see a hell of a lot more of him.
Do you know what was fairly rare in that goal as well? A goal that was actually properly palmed to the net, but it was almost palmed to the net volleyball style. Because I get so used to goals that are scored in that nature. Generally, they're passed across and someone either fists it or they palm it from close range in. We actually saw a chip with a palm. It was almost more like a volleyball skill than a Gaelic football skill. Yeah,
it really was. That was Sean McCusker, and he did it so calmly and so lightly. It's almost harder to do that. You know, the panic stations are on. You're right in front of the goal, quick.
Your instincts are to catch that turn and shoot.
Yeah, or even to go with it a force. But he just calmly did it. So that's the confidence that they have at the minute. But they were fairly well up at that point. It was coming near the end of the game. That was the goal that completely, you know, Derry had a little bit of a purple patch at the start of the second half. They got the first two scores from the break, and then they got a goal as well. It sort of gave them a little bit of a lifeline. But no, Kilcoo, they never looked in doubt.
Switching sports, while you were getting ready to cover that game, I was watching Ballygunner on the telly, and again, they've been understandably put out there as favourites already, because Ballyhale Shamrocks are out, their old adversaries, and Ballygunner having got over the line a couple of years ago with that dramatic win against Ballyhale. Again, this is just so impressive. So 3 campaigns in a row now, they've won their quarter-final in Munster by 17 points.
Crazy, yeah.
They keep Sarsfields to 3 points against the wind, which is nearly as impressive as what they did when they were using the wind themselves. And for Ballygunner, very early in the game, all 6 of their forwards are on the scoreboards. Desi Hutchinson again is pulling the strings. He sets up the goals for Peter Hogan and for Kevin Mahoney, and they win with a load to spare. 2 goals in 20 is good scoring this time of year. Perhaps more impressive to keep Sarsfields to just 9 points. And like, having seen what this Ballygunner team can do, given that so many of their players, you were talking to Park Manny just a few weeks ago, we had Stephen O'Keefe on the show last year, they're now focused to playing club as opposed to having to mix inter-county into it as well. They've got that incredible balance where they've got players who are still very talented and still in the peak of their powers, but 100% focused on what happens in black and red at the moment. They are a dangerous animal for anyone to face, and this semi-final against Napirsig should be a cracker.
Absolutely, and I think the way the split season for the Waterford Championship, that it's one of the earliest competitions to be completed.
It never seems to affect Ballygunner either.
No, and I think it almost is an advantage to them. You'd be thinking when they were going out last week, okay, are they going to be maybe a little bit rusty, sluggish here? They've had 8 weeks off, but it was almost the opposite, that they actually got a rest. They got all the lads back in together. They didn't go as far in the county championship, so all the lads were back in early. They've had that time together, and you can see that as a benefit to them. You know, the way they set up, they're like a county team. You know, they have strength and depth all over the team, even the way they play, the instincts, they know where they are, the crossfield passes, to go long, to go short. They can play every style, and yeah, it's very impressive. Desi Hutchinson once again stepping up for them. He's been unbelievable, but they've so many players all over the pitch that can do it for them. And they have that hurt from last year. And I'm sure that is in the back of their minds, that they want to get back there. And now that there's no Ballyhale, you know, they don't get their revenge on them, but they want to get back there to be able to win the All-Ireland again. And you have to say that they're All-Ireland contenders now. Favourites.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think the next challenge may be one of the most difficult they face.
Yeah, and
before potentially get to an All-Ireland final, because the Limerick final was on the TV a couple of Saturdays ago, and it was a right old battle between Patrick Swell and Napirsig in the final, including a lot of the Limerick players who, you know, are so bonded like brothers on the Limerick team, having a right good cut at each other during the game as well. But like, when you've got the Caseys and you've got Will O'Donoghue in midfield for them as well, and Napirsig are a serious side and like tremendous pedigree as a club even in recent years as well. But where the pedigree isn't good at is Cork. And so I saw this on GA Statsman on Instagram, which is a breakdown of what has happened with the hurling teams in Cork in recent times in the Munster Club Championship. And the reality is, it's not pretty reading. So the last game that was won in Munster by a Cork team was Glen Rovers, who've now been relegated, against Patrick Swell of Limerick back in 2016, where they got through by a point, 15 points to 14 in the end. Then you look at the last time that they've won the Munster Championship, that was Newtown Shandrum, who are going to account for the rest of the stats here, in 2009. Their last time to get to an All-Ireland final was the Newtown Shandrum team that lost out to Portumna by 2-8 to 1-6 in 2006. And the last win was that Newtown Shandrum team against Dunloy, the most unlucky team in All-Ireland finals, winning by 17 points to 1-6 way back in 2004. So look, Cork have been waiting a long time, and Cork are part of the big three when it comes to hurling. But then you look at just that horrific record, to have not won a Munster Championship for such a big county since 2009, to have only won one game since 2016.
Yeah.
I know you can take it in isolation that Ballygunner are very impressive, and Ballygunner have beaten Ballyea, and they've beaten other big teams in Munster in recent years by big scorelines. But that is depressing if you're a Cork hurling fan, the plight of their hurling teams outside of the county.
What is that? Does it come down to the strength of the championship within Cork? I'm sure maybe it does. You know, it's hard to know what that is, because obviously it's a massive county. At county level, they're competitive. You see the talent all over the county, so you'd wonder what that is. It must be maybe competitiveness within the club championship, and how they're not able to get out of that. I don't know. It's surprising for such a big county.
I mean, to me, it just seems crazy, because you've had teams who've come out maybe a little bit unfancied elsewhere in Munster and have gone on to win Munster Championships and to compete in semi-finals and finals at the All-Ireland Series. And definitely it becomes a trend for Cork when it's been that long and it's been various different clubs who are coming out. So that's not a hit on Sarsfields at all. It just goes to show what Cork's record has been in recent times. The other record which I saw, which was just remarkable indeed. So I don't know if you saw the Kilkenny final a few weeks ago. Ballyhale Shamrocks were beaten very, very late on. Paddy Deegan scores a wonderful point to win it for O'Loughlin Gales. But Michael Verney picked this one up on Twitter, which is Ballyhale Shamrocks' record. Now, bear in mind that one of the years for the All-Ireland Series was taken away because there was no club championship outside the counties due to COVID. 42 championship games they've played, 40 wins in that 42 series. The two games that they lost at were lost by a single point. The goal that Ballygunner scored in the All-Ireland final and that defeat against All-Ireland Gaels. 5 Kilkennys, 4 Leinsters, 3 All-Irelands won in that run.
That is nothing short than absolutely incredible. Like, it probably makes their defeat to All-Ireland Gaels so much tougher for them. And what a win for All-Ireland Gaels. Like, that is, that would galvanise a team, that's for sure. That it's incredible. What a run. But the talent they've had, and even last year we talked a little bit about the behind the scenes in Ballyhale as well, and what they do off the pitch, and even with the younger kids coming up, and maybe the likes of TJ Reid and that are always around the club, and they're helping with coaching and things like that. So that's no surprise that they're having this success, and it's on a continuous cycle. But yeah, to lose 2 games out of 40 is just some going.
Yeah, well, especially you consider some of their players like Adrian Mullion, Owen Cody, TJ Reid. TJ, I think, was trying to win his 14th All-Ireland between club and county, which would have been remarkable to put him out on his own. But to be able to do that year round for the last 3-4 years,
constantly backing it
unbelievable.
Up. That's the toughest bit. A good team, you'll win a championship, you'll win an All-Ireland, but how to back it up and continuously do that's the toughest thing. So yeah, that it's some going, but I'm sure that still hurt, even though it is only 2 games they've lost, and they lost the championship there to All-Ireland Gaels. That'll still hurt just as much for them, and yeah, but it has been some run.
Yeah, well, it makes this weekend's quarterfinals in Leinster feel a little bit more open, because Ballyhale would have been strong favourites to win the province without. So this Sunday, you've got the games staggered if you want to watch them in Leinster. TG Carr is showing Naomh Eanna of Wexford, who haven't played since September, so it's a long break for them to come around, against Offaly's Kilcormac Callaghan, who are back champions again after a few unlucky years in finals. They've got a team, Ash, in Kilcormac Callaghan. I think if the draw had been different on this one, to have to go to Wexford and potentially beat the Kilkenny champions if All-Ireland Gaels get past Mount Leinster Rangers is a very difficult route to the final. Mm-hmm. But lots of people have been watching Charlie Mitchell, Adam Screeney as part of the Offaly under-20s who got to an All-Ireland final. They're now integrated in their first year adult hurling and have been to the fore for KK all year. They've also got players who got to an All-Ireland final 11 years ago who are still on the team. So sometimes you get this perfect blend of these experienced players, Conor Mann, Damien Camartin, these type of players, and then these youngsters coming in to back it up. And KK pretty much across the board, I think they had 127 adult hurlers that played this year.
Wow.
And across the 3 grades they were playing at, they got to finals. And they also won a football championship at junior this year as well.
Wow.
So there's just an abundance of talent that they have currently. They did a senior double in Offaly, senior A and senior B, which just goes to show how much strength there is currently. Yeah. A lot of those lads were in All-Ireland schools teams this year and would have won the Leinster schools. So it might be a little bit early for them. But if KK could navigate these 2 games, they'll be a live contender even to win the All-Ireland, I think. But they're up against Wexford's champions, Naomh Eanna. Raharney of Westmeath, Killian Doyle scored a remarkable goal in their Westmeath final a few weeks ago to win it with the very last puck of the game. It was this kind of Roy of the Rovers moment where the ball ends up in the hand of the best player on the pitch and he smashed it into the net, breaking the hearts of Loughlin Gaels. And then you've got brand new Dublin champions in Naomh. And this is an interesting one too, because you've got the best player in Dublin injured right now. I don't know if Bowen's going to be fit to play this weekend, but Naomh were so impressive against Ballyboden a few weeks ago, a game that was like out of sight by half time.
Yeah.
I wonder, without Donald Burke, if he comes back against Raharney, that's a huge boost if Donald Burke is there. But without him, they were able to put Ballyboden to the sword. So Naomh with the side of the draw, because you've Camross and Naas on that side as well.
Yeah.
They might be first-time Dublin champions, but sometimes a team kind of gets that momentum when they've won a first championship and just go for it.
That's it. They get a taste for it. But Donald Burke, like, what's he worth? How many points would you say?
He's one of the best free takers in the country. And
exactly.
One of the best scorers in play as well.
Yeah, even his free taking is something else. And yeah, you definitely want him out there. But who knows? Yeah, he could be still back out. There's time. But yeah, they definitely need him out there. But Naas as well, I think, would have a say for sure.
I think so. I mean, Naas have to go and play Camross in O'Moore Park. So 2 o'clock in Cusack Park for Harney Naomh.
Yeah.
3 o'clock start in O'Moore Park for Camross, who blitzed Abbey Leaks in the Laois final, again a good few weeks ago at this stage, but they banged in goals early in the game and won very, very comfortably. And Camross are one of those teams who are, well, they're the most successful team in Laois history. They come into Leinster with that bit of experience. Quite a few of their lads would have played in Leinster previously. But Naas last year overturned Shinrone after coming up to senior from winning the intermediate the year before. And I think, even though Naas have to balance things a little bit with the football and the hurling over the next couple of weekends, if Naas can overcome Camross, I think Naas will fancy it against Raharney or Nafina in a semi-final.
Well, so I'm going to have the two of them in the football and the hurling.
It's a triple-double.
Yeah.
Which is just absolutely incredible. And then the other one is at 3:30, which is Netwatch Cullen Park, which is a Carlow against Kilkenny derby. So Loughlin Gales out of Kilkenny after ending the run of Ballyhale Shamrocks will go to Carlow's Mount Leinster Rangers. So that's the quarter-final lineup. The winners of Navenna and Kilcormac will be at home to Mount Leinster Rangers or O'Loughlin Gales, and the other semi-finalists from the other side, Raharney or Nafina against Camross or Naas. So that's the way the hurling is breaking down for this weekend. Our own Tommy Rooney is going to be in action in the Munster Club Football Championship Ash this weekend.
Is he?
Cratloe of Clare.
I didn't know anything about this. He's keeping it fairly hush.
He didn't bring it up that he's now best mates with Colm Collins, and him and Podge were on the show last Thursday week as well. I believe Tommy's main contribution was getting black carded in the county semi-final.
Oh,
not sure how much he's added outside of that.
I actually didn't know that. Jokes aside. But yeah, what a start for him, because he obviously left Mead Hill, his club in Meath.
His beloved Meath Hill.
His beloved Meath Hill. And yeah, made that transfer, which is a tough thing to do. And I know he was back and forth a little while on it. And yeah, he obviously made the jump. Living in Clare makes sense. To be able to go on and then win a Clare championship, and here you are competing in Munster. That is some going.
They're away to Castlehaven and Cork this coming Sunday afternoon. That's a 1:30 start. The other game in Munster, it's a quick enough turnaround for Newcastle west of Limerick. They go to Semple Stadium to take on Clonmel Commercials. So last weekend in the Limerick final, it's 3 in a row for Newcastle West. So good victory for them in the end. It was a couple of goals from Owen Hurley that probably made the big difference for them. They won by 3-5 to 13 points. So it's a reasonably quick 7-day turnaround. We had the Galway senior football final as well. Corofin are back. I want to hear from Gary Sice, one of those old lads still doing it at a high level for their club. But this is a very, very interesting game. In the end, Corofin win 111 to 19. And Maurice Brosnan was on with us last Friday, and he was saying that in many ways this could be a changing of the guard permanently, where Corofin were the great All-Ireland Series team, have been great champions within Galway. But Moy Cullen last year won the Connacht Championship, and maybe it was time for Moy Cullen to maybe become the coming force in Galway football. 7 times the teams were level up till the 45th minute. Then there was this really good spell for Corofin after that. When Tony Gill puts the ball in the net, they go 111 to 7 points up. You're thinking it's going to be very difficult for Moy Cullen to come back at that point. The former Offaly captain Johnny Maloney then puts in a goal for Moy Cullen. They were dropping ball in to try and get a second goal late on, but Corofin held on to him by 2 points. And I just wonder, with all the players that are on that Corofin team and the experience of winning that they have, if they're not a very dangerous force now coming into the Connacht Championship and into the All-Ireland.
Oh, of course they are. They have to be. We've all seen what they've done. You know, they're an absolute brilliant club team, and that would have meant a lot to them to be able to get back there first time since 2019.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely massive for them. And sometimes when things are meant to happen, they happen that way. And I think the Gary Sice story in particular is just... It really is incredible. We've all watched him for years, obviously, with Galway, and to be still doing it at club level at 39, his 13th county title, is unbelievable. And he got 5 points. He was the top scorer in the county final. Yeah, it's remarkable, and the tough year that he's had. There was the lovely interview. I know we're going to hear a little bit about it, but for Corofin to be back up there, I'm sure the likes of Kilcoo would love to get another crack at them, obviously from the All-Ireland that they had a few years back. Kilcoo lost out that day. Yeah, they are something else. But for Moy Cullen, they were chasing that 3 in a row. They know Sean Kelly out there. Is he worth those, 2 points it was in the end?
It's a big blow. I mean, I don't know how long they knew that he was going to be out, but when he was named in the programme but then unable to play, you're thinking they had to leave it right up until the last minute to try and get him to play. You're missing your county captain. He's
huge. One of the best players in the country. You would say he's up there, you know, so he definitely is probably worth those 2 points, if not more. So it's a big blow for them. But look, when it's a team's time, it's their time, and it just felt like it was written for Corofin, and they will definitely be a dangerous animal in this championship now as well.
East Kerry won't advance into the championship because they're a combined team. But I think Mid-Kerry will probably look back on this and think, you keep David Clifford to 2 points from play, you probably have a decent chance to win. And they ran this down to 1 point in the end. East Kerry winning 2-10 to 15 points. Goals from Luke Crowley and from Paddy Clifford, who invariably, if David is a quiet day, Paddy Clifford generally tends to pop up. Yeah, so that's 4 titles in 5 years in Kerry. And if you missed the debate on Off the Ball Breakfast on Wednesday morning, there was a conversation about the idea of the divisional teams and what it does for the 8 club teams who are in the Kerry Championship and what the future is going to be, particularly after Karen O'Reilly's have put an alternative proposal in after the Munster champions were relegated down to intermediate for next year. Because there is that danger too that they're going to probably get back next year, be the intermediate champions in Kerry. And I don't think an intermediate team around the country can touch them if they go into the All-Ireland series.
Yeah. Are you a fan of how Kerry do things?
I think it's inevitable that divisional teams will happen elsewhere. I know there's been votes in other counties in recent times to find some way of either running a separate divisional championship where you combine some of the junior and intermediate teams, or the idea of maybe fully integrating them like they are in Cork hurling and in Kerry football. But I don't know. It's difficult because it makes it very difficult for the club teams to be successful. And I think the knock-on effect outside the county is bigger. But because you see so many club teams that are now struggling to field on their own.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. So is the main reason just rural Ireland, it's tough to maybe be able to field teams?
I think so. And you look at the intermediate grades and the amount of teams who are playing an amalgamated team or maybe a regional-based team, that will have the knock-on effect the further down the road that will happen with senior teams, because there's only so long that you can actually continue with, maybe say clubs can be pig-headed about it and they go, right, we're going to just continue as ourselves and our identity is really, really important. But then you realise demographic-wise there's just not going to be enough players to replenish those who are retiring.
Yeah.
And I think at least the debate happens in other counties.
Yeah, you just don't want to lose what it means to, you know, have your club. Like we saw with East Kerry, that there wasn't a hell of a lot of supporters there, and you had the likes of David Clifford, Paddy Clifford. You know, you had a star-studded team that you think people would be coming out anyway, and there wasn't.
It's hard as well to get behind a combined team in a way.
That's what I mean.
Because you
don't
care about your area, but it's hard to, there's a guy from a neighbouring club who's on the same team. Exactly.
You have your rivalry with, and that's the way it should be. So you don't want to lose that either, but there's pros and cons for it. Then you have the likes of, David Clifford was a junior player, now intermediate with Fossa.
Fossa this weekend could go senior.
And they had to wait. They've been waiting to play this game because obviously the lads have been involved. But then you have players that might only ever play junior with their club, and that's just the reality. They get a chance then at senior if they go and join the divisional team. So there's pros and cons to it. I just would hate to ever lose the club feel to it all. You know, that, you know, your club's your club. You know, you never get by that. There's a different feel to it. We saw that with the crowds that went out for the Kerry game. And if you're not going to go out and support the star-studded team, you're hardly going to see it with, you know, smaller teams maybe around the country as well.
Well, East Kerry will definitely be weakened if Fossa go to senior level, because they won't be able to play with them next year. The other games that were on this last weekend, before we hear from Bob O'Kane and Kilcoo, the Leinster Club Senior Football Championship quarterfinals were on, so we know the pairings now for the semi-finals as well. St Mary's RD, it was announced yesterday, will have home advantage in RD for their game against the All-Ireland champions Kilmacud Crokes. Tom Jackson with 2 early goals as they beat Blessington on the road by 3-9 to 2-5. St Lomans were very impressive last weekend, so Ron O'Toole up for an All-Star next month. He scored the goal after having a couple of quiet games recently. He was quiet in the Westmeath final. John Heston, Shane Dempsey, 5 points each. St Lomans won against Clough of Longford by 120 to 110. So Luke Dempsey was managing Clough against his former team, St Lomans, who he got to a Leinster final with. He backed his old team to win Leinster this year. He said they were that impressive after the game. So it's a big ask, obviously, against Crokes, because Crokes against Éire Óg, we saw the control from Walsh before his goal with his head, which was slightly unusual. But again, they just look really, really good. And when they opened the throttle up a little bit, you covered them in the Dublin final as well.
Yeah. And that probably was their best performance of the year so far at that point. They would have said that as well after the game. I don't know if they're at the same level as I would have saw them at last year. I don't know what you think, Will, but I haven't seen that full spark from them yet.
See, I'm wondering, are they feeling their way into the year a little bit?
Yeah, peak at the right time. They could be. And even for Shane Walsh, like in the county final, yes, that unbelievable goal that went viral, and it was something else. You know, he can just do that. He can take moments out of nowhere and make something of it. But he wasn't heavily involved throughout the game. He was probably quiet by his standards. But when he got on the ball, I think he scored 1-3 that day. You know, he makes things happen. So he's not fully at his best, even though we're seeing these clips going around. I fully don't think he's fully where he can be. So maybe it's just a few more games for him, because he was out with that bad injury as well that he got. So yeah, I just don't know if Kilmacud are fully at their heights, but they can surely get there. There's no doubt about that.
I thought they were very impressive against Éire Óg on Saturday for the bits and pieces that I was watching RT2. So they go to RD in 2 weeks' time. Lomans will be at home against Naas. Naas, very good. They got themselves a goal early on from Sean Hannafin. They were 1-2 to no score up. They were still well ahead at half time. I think it was 1-5 to 3 points at the break. And they never really got any closer, Summerhill. Summerhill probably be disappointed, the Meath champions, to finish with 8 points only in the end. It's a very low scoring return. But Naas win by 2-12 to 8 points. And as I said, Naas have got a few dual players at the moment between the two panels. So they're a little bit kind of having to balance things out. But I'm sure the players would say to you, we just like playing games, so they'll be able to balance week on week. So Naas will go to St. Lomans in the other semi-final in Leinster. So Kilmacud are definitely the favourites at the moment, but probably hard to call where they go from there. So Kilmacud's win 112 to 4 points in the end against Éire Óg. So a poor return from Éire Óg, who scored very freely against St. Joseph's the week before, but just Kilmacud looked a different beast when they played against them. You mentioned Kilcoo. You mentioned you were impressed by them. You got a chance to talk to Bobo Kane, who we'll hear from in a moment, but he's one of those kind of characters on the team. I think we've had him on the show a couple of times now as well. Yeah, that was last year's. Yeah, we did a few interviews after the game. I'd know Bobo, so yeah, I always like to pull him for an interview now. He tried to run away from me last week, but I made sure that he did an interview. Hype down at the moment, yeah. They all were. They were all running straight for that dressing room. But with a preliminary quarter final, to get into the quarter final, they don't want to do interviews. They want to just get the win, get in, look to the next game. So it was a bit of that going on. But yeah, no, they look very, very impressive. I think this year in particular, even the Down Championship, they won it well in the end. They look to be just ticking in the right direction. Carl Lacey has came in. He definitely has put his stamp on things. You can see that they play like a more direct style now. We might know Kilcoo sometimes of being that, maybe defensive, keep ball. There's more of an urgency about them, I would say now, and that almost positions don't matter at times. You see the full back, Ryan McAvoy up in the full forward line. Aaron Brannigan was making runs. He's a cornerback up into the full forward line, very committed to their runs. There's moving parts all over the pitch, and yeah, definitely exciting to watch. It's very early in the Ulster Championship, so who knows, but they're definitely up there for contenders for sure. We'll talk about their fixtures a little bit. All right, let's hear from Corofin's Gary Sice then. 39 years of age, still doing it very impressively for his club. He spoke to Tommy Rooney after the Galway final in Salthill at the weekend.
Gary Sice, congratulations. Is that number 13 for you?
It is, and I have a phone call to make now to Giz McGrath because he has 12. So I need to make a phone call and remind him that I have one more. But yeah, it is. It's a ridiculous thing to be even thinking about. It's just number one for Patrick and Brian Cogger and the boys, and that's the important number today.
It's like you never went away, to be fair. Like, it's like, there's still the names that we'd be so familiar with, and the team that won 3 in a row and 7 in a row, but like, you've got that clatter now of young lads coming through. Where's that come from? Is it a couple of good underage teams? Yeah,
our under-19s won the championship last year. Patrick and Brian and a few of them lads came through there, and then you've got a clatter of 23, 24-year-olds that are old men now. They're around for an awful long time. Dara and Gavin Burke were very, very good today, and then you had Ross, who's played all the games to now. These boys are coming for a while. They're educated in their football, and it's not like they were just dropped into a county final today. We were in a semi-final, a quarter-final and a final the last 3 years. It's not like we fell off the earth or anything. So there was a learning going on all the time, but we're here now and we have it back, so we'll celebrate it properly, I can assure you, and then we rejig and we know what's coming next, hopefully.
100%. It was a fine game of football. If you don't mind me saying, the first half, the score taken was unbelievable. Did you bounce the ball? The amount of boys bouncing the ball in the soft sod and losing it was off the charts.
Yeah, to be fair, the last day we played in Tuam, it was actually Summer's Day. Okay. Beautiful, and the last 2 or 3 nights we trained, pitches were decent. This place is usually really, really good, but the game on beforehand didn't help. Lads revert back to type when the pressure comes on. A few lads bounce the ball out there. I'm sure everyone was at it then after a while. It was a pandemic really, but look, the few scores that were got from both teams, Peter Cook kicked a few crackers, and then we got a few boomers as well, and it was good. Tony got a cracking score. It was a proper game of football in the first half, I think.
Yeah. What do you need to settle into a game of football? Like, you kicked your frees, but that point you scored on the left side, you love that.
That needed to go over. Simple as that. Beauty. Oh yeah. What do you need? Gavin's a peach of a kick pass, and the way it bounces up, you don't have to work. You're not even thinking about it. It just hits your hands, and it's lovely. So I had a quick peek to look to see to give me space. Kill it was the key really. Don't fucking drop in his hands. Yeah. What do you need? For an old head like me, you don't want some lad tearing off down the field on you for 5 or 6 minutes. Just need to get on the ball once or twice. I got a few kick passes off, and once it settled in, it was fine. But I have good players around me. Jack McCabe was excellent today, and then Dara, and then you've likes of did them all outside you. Like, he's a machine, an absolute machine, and it makes the likes of my job much easier. I can get a nice ball in my hands, I can start working a bit. But it was an enjoyable game of football because they want to play football too. They don't go man on man and try and black out. They actually go at you. They want to win, and it's a nice thing to play a team who wants to win.
100%, you could see that. But that third quarter was the key moment. You kicked 3 points in the bounce. Tony Gill buries that goal. He just seemed to just take control of the game. I felt watching it, you guys felt very comfortable early on in this match. It felt like Mike Cullen were waiting to kind of break out of their skin, and it never really happened for them.
I don't think people appreciate teams that do 2s and 3s in a row, 4 in a row, county championships. It is hard, and it's a hunger thing. It's in the belly, and coming back to the pinch point, it's very, very hard for 15 collectively to get back up, and I think they found that this year. So Till pushed them to a point. Montbellew really went at them the last day, and we felt that if we opened up the tanks and brought on the likes of Martin and Mike, Micheál Lundy, it's going to bring a bit of trouble for them. And to be fair, then you had Dylan McHugh and Carl Silk and Liam were immense. So we knew we brought them to the pinch point, we might be able to push them away, but didn't go. They fought like champions, to be fair, but we deserved to win, I think, in the end.
Finally, you mentioned hunger there. Like, what drives you, Gary? Like, you're 38, 39 now. Like, you've having it the easiest time in the last couple of years as well. Like, personally for you, this one just must be so special.
It's a nice one. We had a tough year last September. What makes me, it's just football, Tommy. That's the end of the day. Like, if we didn't win today, I'd still have my daughter laughing at me there. She doesn't give a shit whether we won or lost today, but I have a network at home, and they allow me to train. They allow me the hours to go and do this, and I'd be wrong of me not to perform today when I have people there who are helping me so much over the last while. The other thing is too, I love football, Tommy. Soon it's going to stop because the body just won't allow for it anymore. So as long as I can offer something, I want to play. It's just football.
Delighted for you. Well done. Best of luck in Connacht.
Thank you. Good stuff.
There you go, Gary Sice in conversation with Tommy Rooney after the final, where Corofin came through by a couple of points against Mike Cullen in the end. Delighted to say we've got commentator Killian Whelan with us. Killian, welcome back to the show.
Thanks indeed, Will. Seems like a long time.
It does. Feels like a short time at the same time. But here we are. Lads still doing it for the club. We'll talk about Johnny Doyle, who you were commentating on and with at the weekend. But for Gary Sice at the very highest level there with Corofin, still kicking over frees sweetly, still playing very well at 39 years of age. That's the romance we love about the club, isn't it?
Aye, absolutely. Look, he's some operator, has given all of his time to Corofin, and obviously, he's a fair man with Galway as well. But these our lads are still pulling on the boots, and they're still knocking over points for fun. But that's, as he said, the love of the club. And I broached that topic with Johnny during the weekend on commentary, and they just. I think it would be like losing a leg or an arm now if you were to tell those guys they were going to be stopped playing football. But it's phenomenal to think that these guys are still merging out onto the pitches and are still able to do it. It puts you to shame sometimes.
Well, I was chatting to Johnny a few weeks ago after that Kildare intermediate final, and I was kind of chancing my arm on the morning of the Monday to see if he'd come on off the ball that evening, and I was kind of wondering, what was the Monday club going to be like? And he said to me, Monday club is in full swing. And this was at around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. I was kind of thinking, this could be messy by the time that 7:30 comes around. But Johnny was saying he was keeping himself well, so he was drinking with the fathers of most of the players and with his own father while he was out. He was letting the young lads kind of go wild, and he was kind of taking it easy and just soaking it all in. When you get Johnny into his mid-40s at this stage, notwithstanding the 200 odd games he played without missing one for his club and his county, what a servant to Gaelic football in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, Will, he's just one of those guys. I think if you went the length and breadth of the country, there's people in awe of him. I don't think there's anyone in any county that have a bad word to say about him. He just has that. He's one of the unsung heroes, I think, of GAA. He probably, unfortunately never got to win an All-Ireland. But yet everybody, I think, knows who he is. I remember one time years ago talking to the parents of Tommy Walsh, and Tommy Walsh, Kilkenny fame, having so many All-Irelands, and the fact that Tommy Walsh's parents knew that Johnny's parents were at this award ceremony that was at. They wanted me to introduce them to him because they were just apparently Tommy Walsh's mum, her favourite player was Johnny Doyle, and you're just going, look at Tommy Walsh and everything he's won, and yet she wanted to talk to Johnny Doyle's parents. So that's kind of the just the vibe that man gives off, and I think people are just. he has a likability factor. I think that's a factor as well. He's a fierce competitor. There's no question about that. He's well able to do a few strokes when he needs to as well. But I just think he's a guy that embodies the whole thing about club and football and GA and everything. That he just has that factor. And I'm sure there's going to become a stage where he'll get up some morning and it won't be something that will happen for him. But I think the fact that his dad kept playing until his mid-50s, I think Johnny's going to push him close.
Well, I was trying to do the maths on that one. So he was talking about the fact that his dad had played in a Kildare senior final in the early 70s. I wasn't sure whether it was 71 or 72. And he was still around in the 1990s as part of the senior team when they got back into a county final again. Like that, this longevity obviously runs through the family, Killian.
Yeah, it's definitely a gene, all right. There's no question about it. It's probably a hard one to explain, but Johnny just has that uncanny knack, and the body. Look, the lads will tell you if they go out and they do their run at the start of the year, and I've often seen them, club and county, they probably would have done a 5K or 5 miler or whatever on the Curragh, and who's out the front? Johnny Doyle. And this is a guy now, as you said, at 45 years of age, still leading out guys who are, playing at inter-county level, lead at 1 or 2 that would be there as part of the club as well, that are playing with Kildare. So, he just has that knack. And look, there are guys, and we probably hate them. Will, you look at them, they just have that knack, and he'll probably be doing it when he's 70. He'll still be out running miles. There's no question about it, It
must be a humbling feeling if you're in your 20s and your football coach is lapping around you at the
That's what I'm just thinking. We all know he's such a raw talent. He obviously works very hard as well, but even the way he strikes the ball, some of the videos that were going around of him, you're watching it going, if this was in Croke Park, this was happening and it was a county game, everybody would be sharing all this, it would be going viral. The way he strikes the ball and the shots that he took and the scores that he was getting, it's remarkable.
It seems as well, Killian, he's the type of guy who'll take a shot on when required during the game too, because one of those clips I saw at the weekend that Ash was mentioned, you were on the commentary for it on Clubber, against St. Malachy's, was late in the game, Alan Wood are looking for a score, and rather than probing and continue to pass, Johnny Doyle's the guy who takes the shot on.
Oh yeah, and that's I think that's been his whole mantra all life with Johnny. He's the big game player. There's no question about it. And I think there's lads like that in every county, I would imagine. But he's just the one that Alan Wood and Kildare have always maybe had a factor of him just being able to produce it. I remember a story. The 2010 All-Ireland semi-final, Kildare against Down, and Kildare were hunting, obviously needing a goal, I think, as it worked out, to hit the crossbar. But Johnny Doyle went into his fellow clubman, the goalkeeper at that time, Shane McCormick, and he said, "Put the ball on the top of my head." And he runs out. You're talking about making a run out then from the goal, waiting for Shane to put the ball down. He runs out to 60 yards, 65 yards, and he wins the free in the middle of the field from the kick out. And that's the kind of guy that he is. He doesn't expect you to do anything he wouldn't do himself. But Ashing, you rightly mentioned, he's had to work fierce hard. He would tell you himself he's not a natural kicker for frees or anything like that. But the work that man put in either in Allenwood or in Hawkfield or in St. Conleth's Park, behind closed doors when people wouldn't know what was happening, he'd be down early mornings before he'd go to work. He'd be in Hawkfield, 20 footballs, parts of the pitch, kicking them over, back in again, and would do that possibly for about an hour before a training session, everything like that. First man there, last man to leave. He just, he is a phenomenon of Gaelic football. There's no question about it.
I think we have a picture here, by the way, of a combined age of 89, which is put up by Alan Bud and Mangan, who was in goal for St. Malachy's on Saturday afternoon. And he's there with Johnny Doyle after the game. And there's two guys still enjoying it with their clubs, Killian, despite the fact they're both into their mid-40s. I think Bud had kicked a couple of frees during the game, despite the fact that he was in goal as well.
And to be still winning championships in your 40s, that is dream stuff, isn't it?
But fair play to Buddha, so heavily involved, Castletown Gagan manager, and then, lining out in goal for St. Malachy's and played his part in that game as well. But look, he was a good one too. There's no question about it. Will, in the impact that he had against Westmeath, and we all remember the famous quote, of course, from Paddy O'Shea with the loaf of bread, and subsequently in the replay, then Buddha comes out and he showed him after that shoulder from Darren Rooney, he definitely showed Paddy O'Shea unleashed. Then the next day, what was it, 4 points I think he kicked in the replay. But it was a rare one too. There's no question about it. And just goes to show you as well, committed GM and prepared to be involved at all levels.
Yeah, I'm glad we didn't have to get the bleep machine out there. You paraphrased as opposed to using the exact line, which was used by Paddy in the Maroon documentary. We wanted to chat to you as well about where the Camogie Championship is at, because we're at this point where we've got provincial finals coming up. We've got provincial semi-finals over the next few weekends as well. Sarsfield's defending champions, Killian, coming into this on the back of their win against Lochiel at Croke Park last year, where they won by 214 to 114. Again, they are top of the tree in Galway, so they know that they're getting ready for an All-Ireland series already next month, and they're going to be up against the Munster champions. If we can start maybe with Leinster, because we had the semi-finals last week there, and Dixborough of Kilkenny coming through against Martins of Wexford, and St Vincent's very impressive in beating Burr by 3-13 to 5 points in the end. Vincent's are the defending champions here. Do you make them favourites against Dixborough in 2 weeks' time?
I would, purely on the basis that obviously, they've been knocking on the door now, Will, for the last couple of years, in Leinster. And they look like they're making the next step. They've just been around the circuit now a little bit in the last few years. So I definitely give them the nod there. But look, you can't discredit Dixborough. They have a number of players at both senior and underage level with Kilkenny, so you won't take anything for granted. That's going to be part of a double header in Netwatch Cullen Park on Sunday week. We're doing I'm on commentary duty for those for the Leinster Camogie Association, but looking forward to a good game. And Netwatch Cullen Park, fine venue as well. You'd imagine it should be open to a good quality game. And last year obviously St Vincent's were involved in the Leinster final as well. That was played in the SETU campus there in Carlow, and fine expansive play. Reigning champions had to dig it out a little bit against Oulart that day, because Oulart, the old dog for the hard road, been there and done that. Vincent's though showed an awful lot of guile and guts to be able to get it. And I think probably showed a little bit last year that they're not just reliable on Aisling Maher. They have others as well that are able to step up to the mark. And I would put them favourites. I just think having that crown, is something that they want to hold on to. And I think Vincent's as well might be having designs further afield as well. As regards just winning Leinster now is maybe not enough, that they want to prove that they can go further.
Yeah, very polished performance from them last Sunday afternoon. So we've got a preliminary round game in Munster that happens this weekend. So Clonera of Clare will go up against Sarsfields of Cork. And then we already have one semi-final which is set, which is Drum and Inch of Tipperary up against De La Salle of Waterford. Now, Drum and Inch have kind of been thereabouts All-Ireland series as well as Munster. Are they still the team to beat in the province?
There would be, but that's going to be a tasty game, and I'd love to be at it. De La Salle, you have the Player of the Year and a number of others, Beck Carton to back her up. The scenario would be that Drum and Inch, though, have to be hurting Will. Last year, it was a game that obviously people felt was set up for them. We head to Kilbeggan and there's snow on the pitch, and eventually, that is cleared off in the opening minutes of the game. It was a bizarre kind of situation in all circles, but Lochiel made that long trip and they just didn't go away. Drum and Inch didn't put them away though, and that was a factor that some of the free taking let them down on that day. And I think they struggled maybe to win the Munster title and then to win it, and now it's the All-Ireland that they're obviously thinking that this group of players want. And they're a very close-knit group, lots of family connections and whatever with Drum and Inch. And I'd imagine with all clubs there is lots of family connection, but you just feel with Drum that the hurt of last year will probably drive them a little bit. I just think that De La Salle are going to be a tricky enough opponent for them, and again, you need an awful lot of things working right for them. I ultimately think the Munster champion is going to come from that pairing. Sarsfields, you can't discount them, of course, with the tradition that they have, and they beat the Amy O'Connor led Shandoon combination side, in the Cork final. So they won't be for wanting either. But I just think maybe Drum will be the ones that get the nod because of being the reigning champions. And I just think a little bit of hurt with Drum, and obviously a number of them representing with Tipperary as well this year, that might be a factor that could drive them on to be able to claim the Munster title this year.
Ash, if I can ask you about Ballyhale Shamrocks, because you covered the final last year and they had a right good cut at Sarsfields, and Sarsfields have been so good, particularly since 2019, this run that they're on. And Lochiel ran them down to a goal in the All-Ireland final last year.
Oh, big time. And there's definitely, I think, a lot of hurt for Lochiel. You know, it was devastating for them after that All-Ireland. Roisin McCormack, I spoke with her. I actually went down and visited her down at the club as well. And we did a little bit of a piece for Off the Ball. And you could still feel the hurt all those months later. And, you know, she grew up playing. That was the dream. And, you know, got there that day and it didn't happen for her. But they're hoping to get back there again and sort of, I suppose, turn those wrongs to rights and really give it a good crack. And it was the start. I remember that Sarsfield got in that final as well. It was such a quick start and it was hard to just come back from that. But yeah, it's wide open. Just even listening to Killian mention all those teams there, how wide open it is, how competitive it is. And Drum and Inchel want to get back there as well. There's so much of that. And Vincent's, they're a team that I think can really do something this year. So
I saw their backroom team at the weekend. So I got the programme the day before. It's an inter-county management team. They're like Ray Boyne doing stats for them at club level. So they're really, really
it's
well
at
set.
that level. So it's wide open, which is exactly what you want in the Camogie Championship.
Yeah. Just before we wrap up, Killian, I want to ask about, and I'm not going to make Ash have to talk about this because she had pain from Nafina in the Meath Championship. But what an achievement for Nafina. 24 hours between the two games last weekend to qualify for provincial finals in both codes.
Some going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And Ash now would probably be able to tell you there how many dual across the board, but I think it was significant. I think it was unfortunate that the games clashed, but look, it was able to be worked out anyway. But to qualify for both, again, it just probably shows you the healthy nature of ladies' Gaelic games in Meath. Where it's at, you know, like the Camogie team, of course, getting to intermediate final, obviously lost the replay this year. You know, I think, you know, I'd have a good mate of mine now involved with the Meath ladies football team this year, and you know, they will be looking to get back up at the top of the tree again. So, you know, like the club structure in Meath, I do think they're doing a lot of things right, both at ladies football and Camogie, and you know, Nafina. I just think it's a phenomenal effort, you know, and to think that players had to do it within 24 hours again and go give it up their all, great credit to them. You know, like Ash has said, you've come up and countered those girls, I'm sure, on numerous occasions. You'll be able to tell a little bit more, but as regards just the quality, it just says a lot about the club setup and everything of Nafina that they're able to achieve it. And it'd be something if they were to pull off a double.
Yeah, it really would. Like, they won the football intermediate and then obviously the senior and the Camogie. And for Camogie and Meath, a lot of people would be well aware of Kilmessan. I know you would, Killian, of the amount of championships they've won in Meath, and then obviously All-Irelands as well. And Nafina sort of kicked them off that perch in the last number of years and have really just kicked on. And so many dual players as well. And you know, Shauna Ennis, the Meath ladies captain, she's really driving things there. And she often said to me that, you know, when she goes back playing with clubs, she said, I often get frustrated that, you know, the girls aren't, you know, as maybe putting as much in at county level. But she said quickly, it's straight back in. And she said the level that it's brought to is something else. And you can see that you're not going to be competing at this level unless everybody's given everything. And to be doing it in 2 codes and only 24 hours, that's absolutely craziness, and we need to see the end to all of that. But to be able to do that is something else for them. I might come up against them, but I have a hell of a lot of respect for them as well. So
you can support them from here on out. Killian, good man, thanks a million for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, Will. Thanks, Ashley.
All right, just a reminder of the fixtures coming up this weekend then, which we'll be talking about next week. So you've got the quarterfinals in the Leinster Club Hurling Championship, Nevena versus Cormac on TG Carr on Sunday at 1:30. Raharney versus Nafina, Camross versus Naas, Mount Leinster Rangers versus O'Loughlin Gales. We've got 2 games in the Munster Club Football Championship, which is being streamed by Munster GAA. They're going to stream all of the hurling and the football from here on out. Clonmel Commercials at Tipperary against Newcastle west of Limerick, Semple Stadium 1:30. At the same time in Castlehaven, it's Castlehaven of Cork against Cratloe of Clare. Ulster Club Football Championship, Glen, the defending champions here, spread across 2 days this weekend. On Saturday at 7:15, you've got Crossmaglen Rangers of Armagh going to Trillick of Tyrone at Oma, 7:15 on RTE2. Then on Sunday afternoon, the live game in TG Carr is Kilcoo of Down against Scottstown of Monaghan in Newry. That's a 3:15 start. The other 2 games are on, you've got Glen against Erindone Cargan of Antrim is at 3 o'clock at Celtic Park. Breffni at 4:30 will host Gowna of Cavan against Naomh Cunnell of Donegal. We've got quarterfinals in the Connacht Club Football Championship. The defending champions Moy Cullen out because they lost their Galway title last weekend. Balnav Mayo up against Fulham Irish. Castlebar, 6 o'clock on Saturday. And then Sunday afternoon, Rory O'Connell, former Dublin star, playing for Coolaghan Hill of Sligo. So he said he'd love a cut of Kilmacud later in the championship if it was to happen. But St. Bridget's of Roscommon at home at the Hyde against Coolaghan Hill of Sligo. That is 2 o'clock on Sunday. So it's a stacked weekend.
There is lots on. If you get all those games, I'll be impressed, Will.
Yeah, well, we'll have to try and watch as many as we possibly
I
can
know.
ahead of next week. But with streaming services and with 3 games on the TV, it's possible to
Which is brilliant,
dip in
yeah.
and out and watch quite a bit. The Club Championship show here on Off the Ball is, of course, with thanks to AIB. We're the proud sponsors of the All-Ireland Club Football, Hurling and Camogie Championships. We'll speak to you again next week.
The Club Championship Show on Off the Ball in partnership with AIB, proud sponsor of the Football, Hurling and Camogie All-Ireland Club Championships. #TheToughest.